Council members Lynn Shulman, Sandy Nurse. We got them all. We had a few more coming. And we know that labor is in the house. We are joined today by our incredible union partners who you're going to hear from shortly, including 32BJ SEIU, the Hotel and Gaming Trades Council, As you see, they're a little shy. And the New York City District Council of Carpenters are here today. I also want to recognize advocates from Met Council on Housing and everybody else who is here today to join us. Thank you all for your leadership and your advocacy on behalf of all New Yorkers. What we're here to talk about is that on November 4th, voters are heading to the polls. And they will not only elect their representatives to lead the city and their communities. On the other side of their ballot, New Yorkers will also see ballot proposals that they can decide on. Several of them, proposals 2, 3, and 4 specifically, would fundamentally impact the future of our communities. That's why we're here today. In a community of our city, standing in a park that was created as an investment in this neighborhood. This public space was one of several benefits attached to new housing development that went through the city's land use process. Those of us who are here today are pro-housing. Let me repeat that. Those of us who are here today are pro-housing. Because we all know that New Yorkers need a place to live, and there are not enough homes that are affordable. This is the most pro-housing city council in history. Yes. And we have approved 93% of all housing development applications that have come before us. We know our communities deserve housing that is affordable to them and investments in their neighborhoods and quality of life. When we think about the essential community and public resources that New Yorkers enjoy in their own neighborhoods, from parks like this one to schools, public transit, and child care centers, so many of them were made possible because communities demanded that they be included as part of approving new development. Through their democratically elected city council, New Yorkers currently have the power to secure these neighborhood investments as well as housing that is affordable to residents and good union jobs, one that I was born into. When the city or a private developer wants to gain approval to develop in our neighborhoods, we still have the ability to work and negotiate with them. But this is what is at risk from Mayor Adams' misleading ballot proposals 2, 3, and 4, because they eliminate communities' power from their elected representatives' required votes. But the language that voters will see on November 4th on their ballot to describe these proposals actually hides their true impact to eliminate this required vote. Without communities' voices and power in development decisions, our neighborhoods will get less truly affordable housing, less investment, and will be vulnerable to more unwelcome, unwanted gentrification. As I've said before, developers don't automatically produce housing that is affordable to New Yorkers without community demands. And securing good union jobs in new development also requires advocacy, as our partners in labor will describe. The city also too often fails to invest in our communities when granting development rights, unless pushed to do so by the city council. Whether it's the 34th Street busway that was saved by the council as part of approving the Midtown South mixed-use plan, the investments in public transit, safer streets, and more deeply affordable housing as part of the Atlantic Avenue misuse plan, or even spaces like this near Essex Crossing. So many of the essential public goods and spaces we enjoy today are because communities demanded them and the City Council secured them. Mayor Adams' ballot proposals 2, 3, and 4 threaten to take away that power, leaving our neighborhoods and working class communities weaker to hold developers in our city accountable to the needs of its residents. It's no coincidence that Mayor Adams' misleading ballot proposals are trying to trick voters into giving away their power by claiming to be about housing. It's not about housing. We all agree on the need to build housing, but these proposals are trying to exploit the real needs of New Yorkers. They're using misleading language that claims they are a solution to the housing crisis, when in fact, they take away your power to get more affordable housing to developers and unelected appointees chosen by the mayor. New Yorkers deserve to know the truth about what's at stake in this election. That's why we're here today. And we will continue to inform voters about the true impacts of these misleading ballot proposals. Thank you again so much to my colleagues, our partners in labor and advocacy, and everyone in this great coalition. We thank you so much for your intention to protect our community's voices and power to fight for affordable housing and neighborhood investments. We will continue to work together in these coming weeks to make sure voters are clear about what they're voting on. And with that, I'll pass it over to our Majority Leader, Amanda Farias.
We've also been joined this morning by our Finance Chair, Councilmember Justin Brannan. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you, Madam Speaker, for shining a light on the mayor's misleading ballot proposals that threaten to weaken the power of our communities to demand and secure what residents need for our neighborhoods to be affordable. And thank you to our labor partners for standing side by side with us today. Thank you to Carpenters, 32BJ, HTC, CLC that's here, and the Central Labor Council that's here. We have to be clear about what these proposals are. A blatant power grab that would strip communities of their power and voice in decisions about development in their neighborhoods. Our current land use process was created in response to Robert Moses's era of exclusionary planning that promoted segregation, displacement, gentrification, and environmental injustice, disproportionately of Black and Latino communities. My Bronx community knows this well. Thousands of Black and Latino families were displaced by Robert Moses, despite protests from the community, chose to break up our neighborhoods. Decades later, we are still suffering from the economic, environmental, and health impacts of this racism. Now that our communities have the power to demand more affordable housing and investments in their neighborhoods, these ballot proposals threaten to take us back. We cannot go back. Communities' negotiating power that stems from their democratically elected representatives having a vote on development decisions has secured critical investments like schools, parks, public transit, more deeply affordable housing, and permanent unionized jobs. Yeah. It has allowed us to correct historical wrongs and plan for a more equitable future where there are opportunities alongside housing that is accessible so working families can raise their children and seniors can age in place. It should set off alarm bells that Mayor Adams' misleading ballot proposals 2, 3, and 4 seek to eliminate these tools that have enabled us to fight to strengthen our neighborhoods. This isn't a fight over housing. And as our speaker already stated, this city council produces housing. This is a fight over housing that is affordable to our neighborhoods and investments that support them. Ballot proposals 2, 3, and 4 are a threat to our communities getting what they deserve. For Black and Latino New Yorkers, we don't have the privilege of forgetting what happened to our communities lacked by any power or voice in the development decisions being made. It's impossible to, when these injustices permeate the air we breathe and are woven into the streets in our neighborhoods. New Yorkers deserve the right to have a say in the future of our city and their neighborhoods. There's less than 1 month until Election Day. We want our neighbors to keep checking their mailboxes for education pieces on their proposals that some have already received. We won't lose this hard-earned right if all of us work together to make sure that our neighbors, friends, and community members understand that our neighborhood is on the ballot this November. Thank you all. I'd now like to call up Councilmember Kevin Riley, co-chair of the Black, Latino, and Asian Caucus and chair of the Council Subcommittee on Zoning and Franchises.
First and foremost, I want to thank Madam Speaker and our Majority Leader and my colleagues and other stakeholders today. I guess my approach and where I'm speaking from is the last 3 years as zoning chair, I have made myself as available as possible, sometimes hosting 2 to 3 hearings a week to make sure that we're producing as much housing as possible. And what these ballot proposals will do is pretty much create chaos within our community. We have worked so hard within our council to build trust within our community and to let them know that we have to produce more housing. And they understand that now. And they're trying their best to figure that process out with us. But if we rip away their power, that trust dissolves. And that's what the mayor's proposal is doing today. When we're talking about density within our community, yes, we know we have to build housing, but what about investing in our schools? What about investing in our parks, the streets, the roads? What about adding economic opportunity? This gives us the opportunity to negotiate with those coming in our community for the things that we need in our community to grow. All right? So in order for us to continue to do that, we're going to have to continue to build within the council. And now, even when we've seen during the city of Yes, and I'll wait for him to finish. Yeah. Yeah. So, first and foremost, thank you to everyone who came out here today. Thank you to everyone that came out here today. And even when we talk about the City of Yes proposal, we worked hard to make sure we passed that, and we passed that with adding the City for All proposal as well. So with that being said, thank you for everyone that came out here today. To our communities, please pay attention to what's happening and make sure that you vote no on the charter revision proposals. Thank you, everyone.
I'm going to skip over Kevin. I'd now like to call on President of 32BJ, Manny Pastrick, up to speak. Thanks, Manny.
All right. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. My name is Manny Pastrick, and I have the honor of representing 90,000 janitors, airport workers, residential workers, service workers, security officers, and school workers here in New York City. Thank you, Speaker Adams, for your leadership on this issue, for bringing us together to shed light on these misleading ballot initiatives. Along with my partners in labor, I take great pride in representing the essential workers who keep New York City running day to day. Our members are the front lines of housing affordability crisis in New York City. Whether it's being able to afford rent or paying for the modest mortgage, too often 32BJ members have to make difficult choices as they juggle rising costs of groceries, housing, utility bills, or child care expenses. One of our members, Aurelia Mendoza, lives in East Elmhurst. She's been working full-time as a cleaner for 7 years. Like so many New Yorkers, she's just one emergency away from not being able to afford her rent. With 32BJ job, Aurelia has quality health care and she has fair wages. But she knows that she's just one disaster away from losing her housing. She pays $2,400 a month for housing with her and her daughter. And if she has this one disaster, she'll have to find a second job or lose her house. And that is what housing insecurity is all about. We need policies that help address the housing crisis. And we as a union, we've been on the front lines of the fight to build more housing, to build more affordable housing, and to make sure we uplift our communities with that housing. And people have pointed here to Essex Crossing. On the way over here, I met 2 new 32BJ members who are new members because of the ULURP process. The ULURP process allowed them to get those fair wages and health care. We all know we're in a housing crisis, and as the speaker said, we support housing, we support more affordable housing, and we support the community benefits that come along with the ULURP process. But these ballot proposals, as has been said, aim to exploit New Yorkers' real concern and hide what they actually do. The proposals would move decision power away from those that are closest to the community, and by taking power away from City Council, the proposals take away the direct participation of our neighborhoods. Local engagement and City Council are both levers of a democratic New York and provide good jobs for the community and address the community concerns we all care about. Those benefits, often above and beyond the minimum requirements, add to our communities and bring good jobs to these neighborhoods. At a time when the federal government is doing untold damage to our democratic institutions, we must stand strong in support of our local democratic body, the New York City Council, and the importance of decision-making. We can't let misleading ballot measures distract from what we need to get done, which is build more housing that serves our communities and provides quality jobs and has real input for the best communities. So let's vote no on ballot initiatives 2, 3, and 4. Thank you.
I'm now going to call up Kevin Elkins, Political Director for the New York City District Council of Carpenters, to speak. Oh, and we've also been joined by council members Chris Banks and Gail Brewer.
Good afternoon, everybody. So basically why we're here today is for a very, very simple reason. The mayor has done everything in his possible to try and grab power away from the city council, the duly elected city council, whose job it is to protect their neighborhoods, to increase the housing supply while making sure that school seats are provided for our students, that infrastructure is put in place so that the rains don't flood them out and cause all kinds of unbelievable chaos on their streets, all done in a way that solves our housing crisis in a holistic way while making sure that workers are not exploited on projects in their districts. That's why we're here. And the mayor's proposals take away that power from the city council. It's a power grab from a sad little man in the twilight of his career. And we have all united here to make sure we do everything we can to educate our members, educate all New Yorkers about what these proposals really mean. And that's what we're going to do as the Carpenters Union, as the labor movement, and working together with our allies in the city council. Thank you so much.
Power Union, Carpenters! Woo!
I'll now call on Rich Morocco, president of the Hotel Trades. I couldn't even get the full council.
Hi. Thank you, guys. So, good morning. My name is Rich Morocco. I have the privilege of being president of the... Oh, I thought I was going to be left out. Thank you. I appreciate it. Woo. Thank you, guys. All right. So, look, it is a real privilege to be here with the Speaker of the City Council, the other members of the City Council, and my brothers and sisters in labor. And look, our union represents tens of thousands of hospitality workers in all four corners of this city, right? And they have been profoundly impacted by the city's housing crisis. And much like Speaker Adams, our union has tried to help alleviate that crisis by creating more affordable housing and supporting the creation of affordable housing. But we are here today because the proposal on November's ballot will hurt New Yorkers' ability to get the most out of that new housing development. Because we need to remember something extremely important, which is that the role of City Council is not simply to approve or reject a proposal. Their role is to negotiate and ensure that the communities they represent receive all the benefits that they can, whether that is parks or schools or public transportations or good jobs for their neighbors. Today, New Yorkers can count on their council member that they elected to advocate for those types of benefits. Because the power of the City Council should remain where it is. And these proposals would rob the City Council of its ability to ensure that these community benefits are part of any of the... Sir, please. are part of any development project that is approved. Ballot questions 2, 3, and 4 would take away this ability, leaving workers and community members with less of a voice on development projects that will directly affect them and their neighbors. New York City residents elect their local council member with an expectation that they will have a real say over what happens in their districts, in their communities. And removing the council's vote is simply the wrong move. So I want to thank Speaker Adams for her leadership in fighting for more housing and for defending the voice of the City Council and opposing these ballot initiatives. Thank you very much.
HTC! HTC! HTC!
I'll now call on Brendan Griffiths, the president of the Central Labor Council of New York City, to speak.
Thank you very much. I want to thank the Speaker and the Majority Leader for their leadership and this City Council for all their advocacy on behalf of working families. And I certainly want to thank my partners in labor who are here. HTC, 32BJ, the Carpenters. Sisters, brothers, and siblings, we are here with one message. We believe in affordable housing. We believe in community, and we believe in fairness. But we cannot support ballot proposals that take power away from working people and hand it to developers. This November, New Yorkers will vote on 3 ballot questions that sound harmless, but they are not. They remove public accountability, they weaken community voices, they make it harder for workers and residents to have a say in how their neighborhoods grow. They mean less affordability, less investment. The neighborhoods that we live in, they are not for sale. They are where we live, where we teach, where we work, and where we raise our families. These proposals silence community voices, and they weaken workers' power to fight for real affordability, responsible growth, and union construction and post-construction jobs. As labor, we stand shoulder to shoulder to say New Yorkers deserve to have a real voice in how our city grows. Thank you very much.
I'll now call on Councilmember Lynn Schulman to give a few words.
So first, I want to thank the Speaker for all of her work on bringing housing to the city. I want to tell you, I met with Christopher. I'm always respectful to you. So I met with constituents last night from my district who are middle-class members of my community, and they're afraid of being pushed out. They're afraid of untethered building that, and this is what this is. You know, when I push back on some of the proponents of these measures and say they don't call for affordable housing, they said, well, the more housing we have, the better. That's not true, because you're going to have market rate housing, you're going to push the middle class out, and you're not going to have anything but upper rich people living in our city. And we have to make sure that we vote against these measures. You know, I'm very careful and strategic about what I get involved with in the City Council. This is something that's very important to me because not only, forget about the City Council, this takes away power from our communities. This takes away power from our community boards. And we can't do that. They have a say too. You know, when I ran for office in 21, I ran saying that I was going to govern from the ground up, not from the top down. And that's what this is. So I'm asking people to please vote no on these measures. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd now like to recognize Councilmember Gail Brewer to give a few remarks.
I'm Gail Brewer. I've done 210 ULURPs in my life, 210. And I will tell you, Christopher, shut up. What I will tell you is that, for instance, at Riverside Center, when I was in the council previously, working with the developer and the city, we ended up with an extra 500 affordable units because of the community board and because of my input. And on the South Street Seaport, where we built, allowed a new building to be built just inside the seaport, we got $40 million for the museum. We would not have gotten that money without local input. And right now, I'm working with the ABC site owned by Extel, working to be sure that we have affordable housing, that it's a union job, and that there is community. And guess what? The community board has come up with a list of demands. The developer's going to work with us. Without that input, we would not have a good project. So I want to do another 210 ULURPs with the community and with the city council. That's the only way it works. Thank you.
And I'd like to call up Councilmember Chris Banks to give a few remarks.
Thank you so much. I'm here today. Once again, the mayor is trying to stretch his authority far beyond what is allowed. Time in and time again, he's shown he either doesn't understand or he refuses to understand the council is a co-equal branch of government, not just some department under the city's control. We serve at the pleasure of our constituents and not the pleasure of the mayor. Now he's at it again. In November, the mayor is pushing a ballot questions 2, 3, and 4, a blatant power grab disguised as reform. Those proposals would silence communities, undermine the city council, and hand even more control over the housing and land use decisions to City Hall. Let's be clear. As I was elected by the people of the 42nd Council District, not by the mayor, and my authority comes from the voters who've known me and who see me as their neighbor and who trust me to fight for their interests and not his agenda. I didn't need his input when I won my seat, and I don't need his permission to lead. Why would anyone in their right mind allow the mayor and a handful of individuals who probably never walked down blocks here in East New York, Brownsville, or parts of the city to have say over what is built in their community? They don't understand our community dynamics. They don't certainly get it. They want to dictate our future. As the speaker reminded us at our last stated meeting, the city council has already approved 93% of land use applications. That's 93%. The process works. What doesn't work is a mayor who keeps trying to cut the people and their representatives out of it. We don't need more top-down control from City Hall. We need collaboration with our communities. We need voices that reflect the people who live here and walk and raise their families here. That's what local government is supposed to be. So let me be clear. The New York City Council doesn't need the mayor's help, and we certainly don't need his overreach. That's why we are standing together to reject the ballot proposals 2, 3, and 4. These proposals are an insult to democracy in every neighborhood that's fought for a real seat at the table. And you can't just try to change the character of our communities and expect us to remain silent. So, Mr. Mayor, with all due respect, the answer is no to ballot proposal 2, 3, and 4. Please vote no.
No, no, no. Okay, and that's an interesting endorsement to have. Yeah. You wanna come with me?
Quiet!
We're at a location that was an empty lot for 50 years because of local political opposition. Weird choice for this, I think. I mean, why? You know, was that worth it? Is this system that you're protecting, was it worth it to keep Essex Crossing as an empty dirt lot for 50 years? Or is there not a contradiction there?
Well, Jeff, we're talking about the ballot proposals, and we're talking about what is at stake right here, and that is the voice of the people will be lost if these ballot proposals go through. There will be no more negotiation with our residents, with our neighbors, with our community boards, with our civic associations that we partner with. That'll be gone. That's off the table if these proposals go through. So the answer to your question is that we stand steadfastly with our union partners to getting good union jobs. We stand steadfastly with our community boards, with our civic associations, with our next door neighbors who want and deserve a voice in what happens in their communities when it comes to housing. With Margaret.
That's right.
Yep. Yep. That's right. That's right.
Those nonprofits and mom and pops are low because of the work that we did, community boards, elected officials. Thank you very much.
That's right. Yeah. That's the point.
Yes. Hi. Hello.
Hi.
Just real quickly, what specifically about the ballot language is misleading? And to the union folks, Manny and Rich, Dorso and Mamdani, he hasn't taken a position on this ballot proposals. Have you spoken to him about it? What has he said? What do you feel like he is on this?
The language on the ballot proposals is a broad brush. It's very obvious to see that. The language merely talks about housing, that we want to fast track housing, that we need an appeals board to get housing done, that we want housing. Everybody wants housing. Yeah! All of us that are standing here wants housing. So my name's not Aldrine. Anyway, so what we are looking for is for the proposals to say what it really, really means. And that is that the people will lose their voices. The people that are represented by the city council, they will no longer have a voice in what is said. And that language does not say that. It says we want to build housing. Of course we want to build housing, but the people are not being afforded what is really behind what that flowery language means.
And can I just add? I think part of this too is we understand and the voters trust what comes on the ballot, right? More times than not, the education that needs to go out, whether it's through the guide or through other formats, voters go to the ballot booth and they trust their local electeds to say what's on the ballot is trustworthy information. When you see things like fast tracking affordable housing to build more affordable housing across the city, or establishing affordable housing appeals board, that type of language is so generic and sounds so good that the voters that are making the decision in the ballot booth are going to be misled in that way. This isn't actually saying it's eliminating their power, right? Taking them out of the conversation. An EU-LRP making the timeline shorter for them in order to not participate fully any longer. Those are the types of things that we're fighting against now with the education that's going out.
Yeah. Union?
Yeah, I would just say we have spoken with Zoran, and obviously building housing is high on his list. Building affordable housing is high on his list. We've talked about these. To my knowledge, he hasn't taken a position yet, but I think we've explained. I don't think I have anything to add to what was said before, but I think the feeling is that we are getting the ULURP process has worked. So, is there ways to move things faster? I think that he's very interested in how you make the process work faster and work better. But we're trying to explain to him that that's different than having community input. And we explained, as folks have at this location, others, what the community benefits that have come through this process, the ULURP process, whether it's good jobs, whether it's affordable markets, whether it's parks. There's a whole set of processes that have come through this, which, for those of us that have gone through the ULURP process and seen how the benefits of it, we're much more bigger believers in it.
I think Manny just said he has. He just said he has.
Has anybody else in the city council talked to Mamdani about this, particularly through pages or Has anybody talked about these proposals, expressed how important they are to you, and gotten any feedback from them?
I will just say I've spoken to him in broad strokes about the proposals and why the council has their side and is advocating for the community on it, but we have not deep dove into it.
Well, I don't agree with you, Kelly, with that. Again, this has been the most pro-housing council in a generation. So we have disproven that myth. 93% of all housing proposals that have come through this council have been approved and improved through this council. As far as member deference, we're looking forward and not backwards. This council does not automatically defer to members' votes when they are voting, and I think we proved that actually in our last couple of stated meetings. So all of those things are myths right now. We are moving forward and not looking behind. We are looking forward to continue working in collaboration, not just with the administration, but with our neighbors, with our civics, with our community boards, who have a vital voice and a vital say-so in what happens in their communities and the benefits that go on in their communities that developers don't care about, nor will this imaginary panel care about. So we care about the concerns of our constituents. That's why we're opposed to these ballot proposals. Oh, absolutely. And Gail, you can lend it on this also. We have right now some of the largest proposals that have ever come through the city, through this city council and the management of this city council. As far as affordability and housing that will be built because of the leadership of this council, it's unprecedented. The larger projects and proposals that have come through because of the negotiation, because of the care that we have with our community benefits, especially, as the majority leader mentioned, parks, transit systems, schools, businesses, you name it. All of those things come to the negotiating table when we are negotiating for this city, for housing, for affordability. All of those things come into play.
How would the ballot questions actually change? Because the Euler process, as I understand it, wouldn't really change for larger projects. In the same time frame, the council would still have its role. So why would...
Gail, yeah, I'm not, but break it down, Sage, break it down.
First of all, it also has that goddamn qualification about those 12 locations. One of them is on the friggin' west side, and that pisses me off because we have huge projects that we're doing. We're doing one right now. We have affordable housing. We'd like more affordable houses, so don't put us in some goddamn list. So that would be an example of an insane proposal, in my opinion. If you want affordable housing, work with the community. You know what you need? You need it for the big projects and for the small ones. You start in advance. Work with the City Planning Commission in advance. That's what any community board person will tell you, and then you'll get a yes. That's not what happens now. City planning hits the button, and then you're off to the races without enough time to have pre-discussion. This project right here, and the ones we worked on, a lot of big ones, lots of discussion in advance before city planning hit the spot. So the answer to your question is, those projects that are large, they still need more attention at the beginning. And that's not what these proposals call for.
This is Councilmember Julie Wan.
Let me make myself clear. Member deference is not something you can legislate or force via policy. It's relational. No matter who the speaker is, right now we have a very good speaker who allows us to use member deference for negotiations so that the member who knows their district the best can get as much community benefit as possible, like green spaces where we're standing on now and affordable housing. And she has also made it clear that member deference for negotiations exists in your toolbox as a council member, but if you're against 100% affordable housing for seniors, for example, that will no longer be available to you because that is not good for the city at wide. And no matter what you do, even if these ballot measures pass, I can guarantee you that our body is strong enough as a legislature that in the next council term, we will still respect the member enough to allow them to negotiate. But what we're doing right now with the ballot measure, we're basically going back in history and time to say we're going to go back to the Board of Estimates. Let's give more power to the board, to the borough presidents. And even the borough presidents have all come out saying, we do not support these ballot measures, because what you are doing is saying that we do not want community input, that we do not want to give power to the community to negotiate what's best for them, and instead we want to bypass you. We want to bypass the unions. We're going to fight for union jobs. We're going to bypass the community for community engagement and community benefits, and that is not something that anyone should support if you support a strong democracy.
Say it again, Lauren. Sorry.
Won't removing some of the red tape around development create more union labor?
Removing, yeah, that's a question for labor.
I guess what I would say is that the current process allows for discussion in advance. Sorry. The current process, as a number of the council members have said, allow for discussion in advance, where the developers are coming in, trying to understand what the community needs, whether that's a park, whether that's union labor, whatever. And if you take away the motivation for those folks to come in and have the discussion, you're going to lose some of the potential benefits. So and what so many of these projects, where they end up is better than where they started. It ends up with union labor where it didn't have union labor. It ends up with a park where there wasn't a park. It ends up with higher levels of affordability than they started. And I think that discussion is what I think is the key to force people in there. I mean, I don't think anyone up here would say they're against getting rid of red tape. I think everyone, if the city could run better and the city could run faster, but this process in of itself isn't that long. It's really about having the discussions up front.
The other thing about this is that with the ULURP process...
Go to the mic.
I'm sorry. What you're missing is that the mayor and the borough presidents have veto power over whatever we would do in the city council. So if we come up with a great deal that serves our community, they can override that. And they can override that because they're getting pressure from the real estate industry and a lot of other folks. So that's what's key here. And we can't let that happen. We know what's best for our district. So I want to make that clear.
Can I just say something on the and just two things. One, the red tape is community input is not red tape, right? And the second part of that is anybody who's saying that has not had to be in a room with a developer, right? They are not going to, out of the goodness of their heart, because now the pie is so big and they have so much work, suddenly going to start paying their workers a wage that they can afford to live in this city. They're the only way. There are good developers who do the right thing, but there are plenty more who don't, especially in the residential market. So if you want to make sure that workers aren't being exploited on a construction project, then you better make sure there's a way to force them to the negotiating table. Is the ULIP system perfect? No, but it's the only one that exists right now. And unilaterally disarming and allowing developers to do whatever they want in your neighborhood is not the answer in this situation.
Thanks, everybody.
Did you get COI for this? Like, is this legal to be electioneering, by the way? With like,
We're not electioneering because we haven't.